Late to the game and often overlooked, the federal government is set to assert its authority as the most important player in the regulatory debate over vaping. Under consideration is a new national regulatory policy, developed in part from the recommendations of a groundbreaking parliamentary report on e-cigarettes, which stalled when follow-up collided with the priorities of the 2015 federal election. With the Trudeau government now in full gallop and the provinces dotting I's and crossing T's on their regs, all eyes turn to Health Canada as it evaluates a very different regulatory framework, one that could upend provincial regulations before the ink is even dry. The HESA report, Vaping Towards a Regulatory Framework for E-Cigarettes, was produced by the Standing Committee on Health and is back in play as of June 15th, when the federal Liberals reintroduced the report to the House of Commons. It's now up to government to present a comprehensive response, which is expected to come from Health Canada. So what's in the report? In late 2014 and early 2015, the HESA committee conducted 8 meetings, hearing testimony and receiving evidence from nearly 50 individuals and organizations on the potential risks, challenges, and benefits associated with vaping. Witnesses included device manufacturers, e-juice producers, stakeholder organizations, medical experts, and vapers. By all accounts, it was a thorough and fair hearing of the evidence, resulting in 14 recommendations by the committee. The key one being that the Government of Canada would work with all affected stakeholders to establish a new legislative framework under the Tobacco Act, new legislation, or other relevant statutes. A commitment to develop a new legislative framework is seen by the vaping industry as a win, yet the thorny details have still to be worked out, and those stem from the push and pull of regulating vapor products as either tobacco products, therapeutic products, or consumer products. Each bring their own similarities and differences to vaping. The industry believes the solution is to enact purpose-built regulation that specifically defines vapor products in a brand new product category of its own. Joining us today is Daniel David, Chair of the Board at the Electronic Cigarette Trade Association of Canada, and he's also Director at the Canadian Vaping Association. Daniel, thanks for coming on the show. This is part one of a two-part special RegWatch is doing on the shift in focus to federal regulations. First off, it looks like the provinces appear mostly done and are now kicking it back to the feds. What for?
The provinces don't deal with quality control. They have no jurisdiction on nicotine. There's this separation of powers that the federal government has where it regulates and the provincial governments have where it's responsible for regulating. And what we're seeing right now, even the worst case scenario, and unfortunately Quebec is in this situation, even the worst case scenario at the provincial level is nothing compared to what the federal level could do.
So as strict as some of the provincial regulations are, at the end of the day, could get even worse under the feds?
At the end of the day, you're right. I mean, the federal government is the only level of government that could kill the industry. That's it. I mean, the provinces can't do it.
What's the likelihood then of them doing that?
The likelihood of them doing it is negligible. I mean, the fact of the matter is, they put out their announcement in 2009. This industry has grown exponentially since then. We have hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of vapors in Canada. The federal government, they're going to realize that we can't just shut this off, because what is the repercussion of that of them doing that? It's driving it into a black market that they can't regulate.
Daniel, let's turn to the HESA report you presented to the committee and are cited numerous times. Why is this process important?
The reason that this HESA report is so important is because the federal government really took to listening to the whole spectrum. We had consumers there was industry there was opponents from different associations. So it was a really, really fantastic mixing of positions on this subject.
When it comes to regulating vapor products, Daniel, I understand a big part of the challenge is working with existing product categories.
You're right. There's tobacco, there's medicinal, there's consumer. So that's what's been looked at. And the fact of the matter is that when we went through this process with HESA, no regulatory category that exists to date fits the tobacco harm reduction product that we're dealing with.
So regulating vaping as a tobacco, therapeutic, or consumer product on its own wouldn't satisfy?
None of them will completely satisfy. We do have, consumer product regulations that is closest, but it's still not sufficient. What we need is purpose-built regulation that specifically defines tobacco harm reduction products. I mean, our whole public health system is built on the basis of harm reduction. Separating this and going into a tobacco harm reduction, not cessation products, which is in the medicinal sense, but going into a tobacco harm reduction product, that's where we need to go. And that's, that came out in the HESA report based on the numerous testimonies that were given.
That being said, Daniel, there are a lot of people that believe there could be a fit with the medicinal category.
The hurdles to get through medicinal are designed to apply to pharmaceuticals. This consumer-driven industry is just simply not capable, nor is it applicable to fall into that category, because what it would do, it would kill any type of innovation.
So when you talk about this new product category for vaping, what does it look like?
Well, you know what, frankly, it takes aspects from all three. None of them on their own are capable of addressing this issue. It's a combination that needs to be had that will incorporate some aspects of tobacco regulations, some aspects of medicinal regulation, very minimal, but some, and move from there. And that's why there's this drive for a new regulatory framework.
Now that would mean passing a new law, wouldn't it?
Absolutely, it would. Absolutely. And this is the recommendations that have come out of this HESA report.
Well, that's it for this edition of RegWatch. Before you head off, please like us on Facebook and don't forget to follow us on Twitter. For RegulatorWatch.com, I'm Brent Stafford.